Hey, I'm back. Sorry about that. I'm going to try and splice these videos together. I had some technical difficulties. My recording studio actually just crashed, so if this is not quite sequential information coming at you, you'll forgive me. But I think what I was saying when it crashed is that we were looking at the difference here and that this is a transformed version. What did you eat is a transformed version of you ate what. And what that means is that the underlying representation, the deep structure, is going to be the same or very similar, right? We might change a few things, but that these things are base generated in the same place. We're still going to want what, most importantly, to be generated as the complement of this verb eat, right? We still want this what to be generated as the complement to eat. What is still what's being eaten here? Now, that means that we have some work to do because it's not in that position. So we need to find out what position this what is ending up in. Thankfully, we can do the rest of the sentence and come back to that. So we're going to get this did in there and etc. So we're going to come back over here and we're going to add our do support. Where did we add our do support? We put it in here, right? This is just like that sentence, did you eat? Did you eat? So in the same way, we're going to put a plus Q feature in here because we can see that did showing up. So we know we want our plus Q, and we're going to draw up the past tense. So we're going to do this as our step one to figure out where it's moving to. Add in your plus Q feature, draw up the past tense, and then you get the do insertion. So again, our target sentence here is this, what did you eat? Right now we have, did you eat what? Did you eat what? So we need to move this what out. And we need to move the what higher than did, right? It needs to appear to the left of did. Now, do we have any positions currently in our tree that would put it in a higher position than did? Do we have any positions available there? Do we have any positions? We do. We do have positions there, but just one. Literally only one position in our current tree is higher than did. And what position is that? It's the specifier of TP, spec TP. Note that we have a conspicuous absence right here. C bar has branching, this is a head, but spec CP we literally haven't done anything with until now. And now what we're going to do is we're going to find that spec CP is the home for WH question words. So we're going to add a little bar. I'm going to do a little bit of erasing to give myself some more room to make this more clear. Turns out these trees get big even when they're simple sentences. So we made room here in spec CP, in the specifier of CP for this what word. And we moved this out all the way, right? I'm going to erase a couple things to make this look nice and add in our traces. Okay, it might not look nice, but hopefully it looks nicer. Penmanship has never been my strong suit. Ooh, I hope you don't crash again. That was annoying. All right, here we go. What did you eat? Right, so we got our word order, right? We moved this what. And note that I moved the entire thing out, right? This whole DP comes out. It's not just the what head that has moved, it's the whole phrase. The whole kit and caboodle, the whole phrase, the whole DP is evacuated out to spec CP. This tense has also moved out. Note that here just the tense head moved, right? It's not like this whole TP structure moved up here. So there's a difference in types of movement. This is called head movement. This is called phrasal movement. So here, just the head moved out. Here, the entire phrase is gone. What did you eat? Hey, look, we kind of did it. We kind of did it. We got our word order correctly. We figured out where everything was generated. We figured out where everything was moved to. There's one last piece remaining. Okay, there's a lot more than one last piece. Don't believe me when I say things. There's at least one more thing remaining here, which is motivation. We need, whenever we do movement like this, we need it to have it be motivated. Why did we do this movement? You can't just move things willy-nilly. That's going to lead very quickly to a system that overgenerates just insane sentences of English. So we always want to have our movement motivated. And we've seen this in the past. It's why I went over yes-no questions at the beginning of class, to see that this drawing up of T to C is motivated by the presence of this plus Q feature. By the presence of the plus Q feature. That's what motivates this movement. We've seen this before. This insertion of did is also motivated, right? It's because the past tense is hanging out there and it needs support. It's motivated. So here we need motivation for that. How are we going to do it? Well, what's sort of causing this movement? Well, it's moving up to CP, so we immediately suspect the C head. This is convenient because the C head already has this controlling question clause structure type of feature in it, plus Q. So we're just going to add to it. We're going to add another feature to C in addition to Q, because the Q is still there. The Q is there to draw T to C, and now what we're going to see is that we're going to add a WH feature. Whoever named these things wasn't particularly creative, but at least it makes it clear. So now we have some features here. Another feature, we've got a plus Q. What's the plus Q doing? It's motivating T to C movement. And we also have a plus WH word. And the plus WH feature says, give me a WH word in spec CP, right? It's C, so it controls the C area. And it says, in spec CP, there needs to be a plus WH word. We've motivated it. Note that there's a way that we're talking about these features, or we can talk about these features, which is that they get checked, right? So plus Q says, give me do T to C movement. Do T to C movement. And when T to C movement happens, it's satisfied. The feature is satisfied, so we check it. I'll put this in a different color maybe so it's a bit more transparent. Excuse my gigantic face. All right, so we can say that this plus Q feature up here, oh, you can't even see my fancy colors, but that's red. This plus Q feature is checked by this T to C movement, right? Checked right there. And down here, this plus WH feature is checked by this movement of the WH word. Aha, so both of these features are now satisfied. They've been checked. Again, the Q by the T to C movement and the WH by this WH movement here. One last piece. I know this is getting a little bit complex. But there's one last piece that's missing here, is that what can satisfy this WH feature? What counts as a WH word that moves? And what we're going to see is that this is also feature marked. It's marked as a WH word. It's marked as a WH word. So we find that what is a plus WH DP. It's a particular type of DP. The reason we do this is the realization in English that we can't just move any old DP up here. We can't just say like, cows did you eat? Cows, did you eat? No, the kind of question is, did you eat cows, right? So only certain types of DPs can have privileged access to make it up here into spec CP. And we're gonna, this is their access card. The access card is the plus WH feature. So this WH feature over here in the C head says, give me a plus WH DP or a plus WH constituent, doesn't always have to be a DP, give me a plus WH constituent in my specifier. And when that happens, like we have right now, this is checked. This is checked. It's feature checked. This is how WH movement works. We're going to go off script a little bit and look at a couple other WH words, and then we're going to cut it there instead of getting, I had something else written down here. We'll do that next time. We'll do that next time. Instead, we've been looking at what. Let's change it up. What other WH words can we think of? Well, right, you can think of the regular gamut of WH words. And in this case, your intuitions serve you really well, right? We've got what, which, why, how. Did I miss any? When? What, which, why, when, how. I don't know. There's a bunch of them like that. They're exactly the ones you think they are. I didn't have the foresight to make a list ahead of time, but they're exactly the ones you think they are. Ooh, sorry for the loud noise. So let's take a look at another one and see how that would work. So I'm gonna have to come up with some new sentences on the fly. Like I said, we're going a little bit off script here. So let's instead, we can keep our base sentence pretty similar. For some reason, I have this image of cows and eating stuck in my head. Forgive me, vegetarians. So we're going to go with the sentence, when did you eat cows? When did you eat cows? So I'm going to change our structure a little bit because we need to make room, right? Particularly, we need to make room. Well, what's the parallel, right? So what's the answer to that, right? What is the then, what is the when representing? What is when representing? Or what could we substitute when with? In one way, right? So if we asked, what did you eat? We can substitute what. For the what, we can substitute something like apples. What did you eat? Apples. A good way to get at this intersubstitutability question is to sort of answer your questions with these fragments, because the fragments are what's substituted. What did you eat? Apples. Apples is being substituted there for what? So if you ask yourself, when did you eat cows? When did you eat cows? The answer could be on Monday. On Monday. Or the answer could be, when did you eat cows? Yesterday. Yesterday. When did you eat cows? Yesterday. So we're going to make this like an adverb, probably. It could be a prepositional phrase. It doesn't actually matter all that much, but we're gonna stick with an adverb. We're gonna say this is an adverb. Like yesterday. When did you eat cows? Yesterday. I'll show you what that looks like. Eat. And the DP cows. This time we'll stay still. So our all right, sweet. So we could have a sentence, right? We could have a sentence like this, which is like, did you eat cows yesterday? That's as if there weren't a WH feature here. Did you eat cows yesterday? And we note again that we can replace this yesterday with when. With the word when. And when has that plus WH feature? When has this plus WH feature, unlike yesterday? So now, when we see a plus WH feature up here in C, we can say, aha, give me something plus WH. What has WH here? When does. So we're going to draw it up. We're going to move it up like this. Right back to spec CP, where we expect it. Just like we did with what. So here we're going to say adverb phrase, adverb phrase, when plus WH So now we have, when did you eat cows? Right, this is all moved out. This is the trace. When did you eat cows? When did you eat cows? When did you eat cows? Cool. And this works the same way with things like why. Why is going to be what part of speech here? Actually, I haven't thought about this. Give me a second. Again, when you go off script, when you're live recording, these things happen. What could we replace it with? Because I was hungry. Because I was hungry. What part of speech is that? What part of speech is that? Because I was hungry. Because I was hungry. What kind of constituent would we want that to be? That's actually a really good question. We haven't really looked at that kind of structure. For now, probably the closest we could get would be like a CP. A CP with because, because in C. Because I was hungry. You ate cows. Why? Because I was hungry. Cool. So we can see that these different WH words have different sort of parts of speech, where we have what being a DP typically, we have when being an adverb, right? A temporal adverb. We have things like why being CPs, etc. etc. We're basically just going to do what's and when's, so you don't have to worry about too much of the other ones all that much, but that's the general idea, is that you can replace, we find out what we're replacing, right? So for when, we were replacing something like yesterday, which we said was an adverb. This helps us know not only what part of speech it is, but also where to generate it in the tree. That's what's critical here, right? In some ways, whether this is a prepositional phrase or an adverb phrase, like on Monday or yesterday, it doesn't really matter that much. The reason we want to know is that we want to figure out where it's generated so that we can move it out, so that we can have our deep structure and then go through these transformations. And why do we go through these transformations? Because of these features. So that's the take-home points. The take-home points today are where you generate these WH words and how you get them to where they need to be for questions. The position there is the specifier of CP. The other element that we looked at is why you get them there. Why? What motivates this movement? And for what motivates the movement, we found this plus WH feature that gets checked or satisfied when there's a plus WH word in the specifier of CP. In a very similar way to this plus Q feature gets satisfied through T to C movement. So we're coming up with sort of a comprehensive theory of movement here as part of our syntactic theory. So hopefully that all makes sense. I'm trying to think if I have any other closing thoughts. I think we covered it pretty good. We're going to keep talking about WH questions. These are the basics. In the next class, we'll look at things like multi-clausal embedded clause constructions with WH words, and WH words get a little bit crazy, they get a little bit weird, which should make it more fun. This should be relatively straightforward. We just introduced some new terminology and some new tricks to our trick box tool. I'm just gonna go. This video is done. I'll catch you guys again on Wednesday. Have a good one.